Roy Blunt, United States Senator from the great state of Missouri, joins us. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, McGraw. Great to be with you.
I know you don't normally wade into state issues, but any thoughts on the new governor and what the state has just gone through?
Well, I know the new governor really well. He became the sheriff of Polk County the same week I became the president at Southwest Baptist University, which is in Bolivar, which is in Polk County, north of Springfield. And that was 1993. And, if you're a college or university president, you pretty quickly know who the sheriff is and who the chief of police is. And we've been good friends since then. Good job as a state legislator, a great job in the state Senate. He and his wife have been all over the state. I think the new governor is going to do a really good job, and I look forward to helping him. I think Governor Greitens really made the right decision for himself and the state, and I believe Missourians will want to move forward pretty quickly. I was had 15 different press events and community events last week, and at every one of them after Tuesday, I felt there was a sense of let's get back to talking about the economy and what's happening with the workforce and how we can get better jobs. And I think people are going to move pretty quickly to that point.
Yeah, good. All right, let's talk about, let me ask you.
And I don't know that we've ever had a governor, by the way, that was sheriff before. 12 years of sheriff. That's a different experience than most of our governors have had, and I think a pretty good one.
You can say that there's a new sheriff in town, in a sense.
There is a new sheriff in town, exactly.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. That is, the president's lawyer said on national television that the president of the United States cannot obstruct justice and that if he wanted to, he could pardon himself. What do you think?
Well, I do think the president's in charge of the executive branch of the government, and I think in terms of asking about investigations, being interested in what's helping and what's going on at the Justice Department, even if he wanted to, giving direction is within the power of the president to do that. I have no reason to believe that he has done that, but I think he could if he wanted to. On the other topic, I don't think anybody's above the law, and the idea that somehow it's not illegal if the president does it, that's not true in my view. But a lot of this is just so hypothetical. Like I had several people wanting to talk yesterday about, well, can the president pardon himself? And I said, all the hypothetical on steroids questions, that's not. I think that's almost unimaginable. I think that's what actually Giuliani said. So it's just a theoretical discussion, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it is time for the Mueller investigation to come forward with whatever they've got. They've had plenty of time, and I think the Senate panel that I'm on is we're 2/3 through our investigation, one on Russian interference in the election, and 2 on critical infrastructure and how we protect it in the future, and 3 now will be what have we found out about Russian involvement as it related to the campaign. And I'm not sure anybody's seen anything yet that is persuasive there.
I agree with you. It's sort of a existential conversation, but it comes from the president's Twitter account. So the people aren't making this up. The president sort of brought this up himself.
Well, that's true, but I've tried to make it a policy not to comment on the president's Twitter account. And what I do think is interesting, I told a couple of press people this yesterday at last week, McGraw, at some of the news conferences I had. I think twice the topic came up on the governor's resignation. Do you think that this still reverberates through November? And I said, look, if President Trump has taught us anything, it is how quickly people are willing to move on to the next thing. And I think that's going to happen here. But I think nationally it happens too. I'm constantly, and I told those reporters what I constantly tell my own staff. I said, look at your own news 10 days ago. You won't believe that was 10 days ago. That you'll think that surely that was 2 months ago. It's just, there's the fast-paced world where the president particularly has the capacity to bring things up, and oddly, people every day take that bait and talk about that every single day. And the president controls the media in a way that I've never seen anybody do before, and he does it before about 7 o'clock every single morning.
I hope you're taking notes, because I can't wait to read your book when it's all said and done.
I am taking notes.
Okay, good. Their work goes on, even though the press and the media aren't necessarily talking about it. So what is going on in your world that we should know about?
Well, a couple of things that I've been spending talking about in the state recently. One is year-round Pell Grants, which you and I have talked about before. And, of course, the Pell Grant is a grant, not a loan, that people pursuing higher education can have access to based on need. And if you're in that most needy category, 100% full Pell Grant pays 100% of tuition, fees, books, with a little money left over at every one of our community colleges. It now pays full tuition at the University of Missouri Columbia, and so Pell Grant is not something you have to pay back. It is the Bernie Sanders conversation. Everybody should have 2 free years of college education. In most states, they already have that if they are people of the greatest need. And why does year-round Pell matter? If you're paying your way through school, if you're the first person in your family, like I was, to graduate from college, anything you do that breaks a pattern that's working minimizes the chance you're going to finish. And so we think there are 20,000 Missouri students in school this summer that wouldn't be there otherwise, about 1 million in the country, and every one of them pretty dramatically increase the chance that they're going to graduate by just sticking with the task and staying with a pattern that's working. And then last week, talking about the economy, the 12 Midwestern states, for the first time ever, there are more jobs open in those 12 states than there are people on unemployment. That says something pretty significant about the economy. We had one roundtable in St. Louis, and one of the employers sitting by me said, "I just hired somebody that I fired 2 years ago, and I swore to them they would never be allowed to step foot on my property again. But I called them and said, if you want a second chance, we need somebody with the skills ready to come back to work." And then 2 other people at that same 12 employer table said, "We've hired people in the last 3 weeks that we have fired before." This is sort of a second chance economy. People getting out of prison that have skills have a much better chance to get a skill-related job than they had 5 years ago. And so, we're seeing the tax policy, the regulatory policy, and just general confidence in the economy produce some extraordinary things. Unemployment lower than any time since the 50s is the last time it was low as it is at this moment. The 50s, or I think it was the 50s. It was, so that number came out yesterday, but certainly it was over 50 years ago, and it's a pretty amazing thing.
Senator Roy Blunt, we'll let you get back to work. Thanks for checking in. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great to talk to you. Look forward to seeing you.